keep going. I want to thank everyone for coming out tonight and proving that Toledo's poetry community is much bigger than itself, and that we really can support people that come from outside Toledo. And thank you, gentlemen, for being here and coming to Toledo. Very much. We're going to take a brief 5 to 10 minute break. I'm going to let you talk to these gentlemen. Check out their books because they came a long way. Just thank you very much, and we'll get the open mic in about 10 minutes. Sure. I got to see Steve's ankles. All right. And with that, we will bring up Steve North.
That was not a Hawaiian shirt. It was a Dominican shirt.
All I gotta say is it was powerful, Steve.
What?
It was powerful.
It was a very powerful shirt.
Very fruity. You didn't see the shirt, right?
I'm going to start with a couple from, actually this first one I read for the first time last week. And it's the first in a series of pieces that I'm writing about encounters with people that have really shaped my life. So this first one is called Elena's Today, and this incident took place in Recife, Brazil, 1985, when I was visiting a place where there was a 10-year drought, famine, and 1,400 kids a day were dying of starvation. Elena's Today. You should have been playing today, or learning to pull yourself up to your feet, or maybe even taking your first proud steps as a member of the mobilized world. You should have been giggling today at strangers whose rapt attention was yours, or maybe even enjoying many warm embraces from your mother or father or new friends. You should have been learning today what it's like to be loved and cared for, exploring the beauty of the world and yourself, touching grass and water and friendly faces. After all, you're a whole year old. But you didn't play at all today. And your face and voice couldn't collude to produce a giggle, though one faint smile. And the big world was no school for you. Instead, you fought for your life today, fighting to have a chance at a tomorrow, yet armed with no weapon but dependence on someone else to right this wrong. I held you for a long moment today and thought of a million unanswerable questions. I wondered, how can a one-year-old weigh less than I did on the day I entered the world? How can any mother survive such sorrow, seeing the promise of her daughter's life fade away? How can we live with ourselves or sleep at night, knowing we allow little girls to suffer like this? I looked into your deep, sad eyes today and saw trust that had been disappointed again and again, whether intentional or not. Why do we think that distinction matters? You died today because you were hungry. Not that there's a lack of food in the world, but because of a dearth of love and generosity and little interest in caring for anyone else. You died today, and little notice was taken outside the walls of your own cardboard house and family, struggling alone in a sea of faces. After all, 1,400 others died here today besides you. The memory of our meeting still haunts me, but sometimes I'm afraid that I could forget what it was like to be there on your last today, and that I am my brother's keeper. Amen. I'm really embarrassed about this next one. This actually took place within 2 weeks of the last of the day I held Elena. And I'm embarrassed because of what I did to this man. It's called Alpaca Coat Man, because I don't know his name. Cusco, Peru, 1985. Baby alpaca, the finest. Your words, music to my ears. My goal, to find a special gift for someone important to me. It seemed so good and right, maybe just a little noble even. A beautiful handmade coat, constructed of fur soft as air. Just the thing to win her pleasure. Knowing I had found perfection, still being sewn into the lining, I set about my acquisition. But somehow I lost perspective on my reason for being there. And the thrill of the conquest became the ultimate goal, my value no longer the gift, but winning a one-sided fight. Maybe if I had learned your name or had known your familial state, I wouldn't have done it that way. After all, it's easier to abuse an anonymous street shyster, even if he's only so in my mind. But that's small consolation. If the truth be told, it's none. To one who's so lost himself in lust that he willingly, even proudly, left your little shop a subjugator of both your life's work and dignity. After it was too late, I thought about you and your family and life. What was it like to be so devalued for the sake of the price of a meal you could never hope to afford by a person so brutal and blind? How brutal to somehow believe it just to steal the dignity which God so carefully gave you. What terrible blindness to think my moment, my money, my life are of more worth than my brother's. And despite my purposed resolve to shed such degenerate thought, I realize that far too often I negotiate my personal advantage and rights and increase at too many others' expense. I am choosing to abdicate whatever gain I may seek, whenever abuse is the method by which only I may seek it. Remembering God's handiwork is definitively the finest.
Remember, I've been going to Jamaica for 25 years. I do a retreat there every February, March. I remember in the early days I was going there and I was at the gymnasium, Savage Hall, where I used to go to the steam bath. My friend Joe lived. And there was a now retired professor of zebra muscle studies. he was Chinese, you know, and I was there getting steam, and it was February, I was real tan. And he says, "Where you been? You got a nice tan." And I said, "I've been in Jamaica for the past month, man." I said, "I hate you, I hope you die." This is a poem from my life in Lorraine. After hours at Pirates Cove, people who lived in that light. Back door, alley, bar with blue mirrors and blue limited illumination for the bass solo, Illuminati, scat cats hanging in back red leather booths where hijacked Steinways and stolen Hammond organs are dealt at heavy discount. And here, the Wittenauer, B bought me that night from Phil, bald thief and chill of 45, old, and his good-looking poured into her green satin cocktail gown, young wife Gina, D with tight French roll stacked inside her black voile strapless and garter belt, I knew, under it. Gave him $20 for a $200 watch I still got. I was 15, B 18. My high school girl, hillbilly lost tooth, got Irish Cherokee thrill. People live in that light. And a Lorraine poem. This is called Knowing Your Place, Too. For Lorraine, 1950. You run a crackerjack magnet over the gutter at Vine Street after rain. Find a steel porcupine bristling there. Not pound magnet rows. The creative mind's pluses and minuses electrifying language, though I'd like to think some connection adheres. Steel town natives roll to the north when asleep. The open hearth's hot slag bumps down from dumper cars. Dark crust ruptures, pours sparkles and stars. Slate breaks, open searing rouge splash. Steaming ash builds clinker mountains here in Ohio, Black River Flats. The night sky is starless gray smoke, peach-orange glow under heavy cloud bottom. Jag-tooth black smokestacks for 20 blocks. The coke plant burns, one eternal gas flame. I know the old man's working nights, all right in the world.
As I walk by, they think I'm strange, the way I look, the way I act. Maybe I am. Who cares? I don't. Sometimes I think I'm invisible. Sometimes I just know I am. But then the spell is broken and somebody stares at me. I don't look at them, I just stare ahead, out into space. That way they won't look at me. I must focus my eyes on something else, maybe something far away or something very small. I can feel them staring. It's like their eyes have fingers, and their fingers are pointing at me. They are whispering about me, mocking me. I'm an outcast, a misfit, one that does not belong anywhere. The insect has wings, but he does not fly. They wonder who I am, where I come from. I speak no words, I utter no truths, I share no secrets, and I whisper no lies. They know nothing about me. That's the way I feel I exist. It's easier that way. Less harm, less pain. The insect crawls across the concrete desert. Nobody sees him. He's one among millions, and nobody knows he exists. I can read them like little books. They're filled with colorful pictures, but very few words. They are a jumble of nonsensical images strung together by their insatiable need to be fed all the attention they crave. They are always hungry and never satisfied. They feed their bottomless pits with food, alcohol, money, and drugs. They are the most pathetic forms of hell, and I want nothing to do with them. The insect comes to the edge of his known world. It's a cliff 1,000 miles high to him. He has wings, but he has never flown before. I sit on my perch that rises from a maze of concrete steps outside the monolithic buildings. I have climbed to the highest point upon this jagged hill in this city of mountains. Surrounded by an empire of greed, I am insignificant to everyone save the other dregs of society. Save the dregs of society? I don't know if I can. I can barely save myself. The insect's wings emerge from his back. The wings quiver. They are thin and fragile. They are translucent. Sunlight seems to make them glow. I stare at the edge of the ledge and look beyond. I raise myself to the precipice and look down. All the people below me are so small, so meaningless. I am so high above them. I wonder what it's like to fly. The insect's wings don't seem strong enough to carry him. He starts to float. This is the first time the insect will attempt to fly. He may die on his very first try. I raise my arms and stare out into the sky. The horizon is my destiny. The clouds will be my new home. I want to fly. The insect raises itself over the cliff and its wings flutter quickly. It's flying for the very first time. But will it stay afloat or fall to its death? I breathe deeply, close my eyes, and stare longingly into my fate. This is it. It's time. The insect flies for the first time in its life. I raise my eyes to the sky, and I know this is the beginning or the end. The insect flies away, and I jump.
Okay. Rhapsody Alley. Ice shimmers on dented lamp covers, like ghosts whispering on old phonographs, like the edges of rough old brick, decaying and nostalgic and imminent. Her hands trace old paths of dead loves, scratch marks of a hollow mistake spelling out her name in fire. The citadel of skyscrapers beyond the valley of spent bullets screams for me to come worship, but the only architecture tonight is the curve of her spine, pressed firm against the walls of this city's naked spirits. I am Sam Spade, I am James Bond, I am Tom Selleck's mustache, I am every leading man of the silver screen projecting across my transparent mind. I am pressed against a choir of voices hearing siren sound sour notes in the wind, an adagio and striped cotton panties stretched wide by my numb fingers. The night is so ridiculously cold, but that's not why we're shaking now. Shuddering under sheets of coal smoke and the frozen tears of dying angels, and she is laughing, gasping, how did we get here? As if I know. The poet snores 4 feet away, a shallow third breath. Words drip from his liar's lips like a love potion salesman. All hope and promise hollow as the air he sleeps on. Her back turned to me, I taste her dreams, blends of applesauce and ex-lovers. She fends off the morning light, invading her fantasies, perfect features swelling perfect patterns in the broken light. As if I know. I am in need of some testicular readjustment. Crazy pills playing games with my libido. That woman playing fast with my mouth, my pen playing over empty paper, and outer spaces never looked so good. Her fingertip brushes my Colt tucked in my belt. The cold steel trigger begging for a target. The painted sights whispering to each other across a cosmic distance. Fire, fire, fire. It won't stop raining and my nostrils are acrid with smoke and sweat and the ashes of dreams risen again only to be re-extinguished in the melted dark second of a dozen smoldering black scars in the snow, immobile and foretelling the arrival of the forsaken golden sun. Fuck the daylight. Fuck suits and ties and yellow dye number 5 and dreams and everything that is not here in this place, in this flawless moment, this love pianissimo. Fuck kittens. Yes, I said it. Fuck fluffy kittens and garage sale sepia prints of Charlie Chaplin children in adult clothing. Fuck anything that isn't raw and chiseled and cold. Fuck permanence. I want the ultimate temporary experience. Fuck me, fuck you, fuck anything not this. Fuck what children want to be when they grow up. I want to be a firefighter, just to watch the walls burn down around us. I want to be an astronaut and see the stars flicker and fade upon re-entry. I want the night and the coffee bars and the hipsters of this city to explode in a cacophony of electric shrapnel. I want it all. I want nothing. It's 5:25 a.m. and I just don't want to sleep.
This is one I wrote last year. I haven't read it in a while. It's just called Compromises. Pretty much speaks for itself. It's the clinging to the compromises that leads to this insidious starvation inside, the hopelessness and the fear, the clinging to what's been safe, and how we fooled ourselves by living the long-abandoned choices that we've made and the promises that no longer bring joy or love to our lives. We swallow them, live them, though these negotiated contracts no longer feed our continued trust. We live our lives silently starving, trying to feed off our sacrificed values, dreams, and hopes, merely enduring the torment for the safety, quietly bargaining away the joy for duty, pretending to just make it through another day, another argument. The endless confrontations, the disappointments, with honesty no longer being played out, no longer a real issue for us, just an imaginary prop that we lean on occasionally to get by. Holding out onto the desperation, we continue to string things together with just enough symbolic gesture to catch in our throats so it slowly chokes us. Now, because they're lies that mean absolutely nothing to either of us anymore. It's just to get by. All just for the safety, all just for the convenience. It's all finally come to that, you see. It's those compromises that eat away at me. They're no longer easy anymore to swallow or keep down. But were they ever, I wonder, were they ever easy? Or did I just tell myself they were? Complacency has a way of numbing you to the reality until one day it's so strong you can't ignore it. It's too small now to fit or cover the pain, and I find I can no longer live this life of compromises. To be true to myself or to you, and that is all it should have ever been. About living love, being honest and true, and somewhere in all of this, that got lost. Amidst all those compromises I made to stay with you, somehow I'd forgotten until today. Thank you. This one I wrote, I read it actually a couple days ago, but I want to read it again here because some of you haven't heard it. It was inspired by a trip to Akron, looking for some inspiration to write again, because I go through dry spells like every writer does, so it's called Lost Findings. Way up along the tree branches, along where all is asway and the wind dances and tickles the daylight that's dappled there, I see them, often hopping and hiding, weaving and gliding, and in and out of sight, and I hastily grab at them. I seek to taste their tang in the snow that lightly close the swaying branches and touch the sunlight glinting off the early morning snowfall that still lingers there and beckons to me. Oh, how I eagerly search for them, in every swale and leafy hollow among the tangle of the bramble and the chuck-chuck whispered by the whippoorwill. Down along the sidewalk in the city, they lie there open and in plain view, words woven in the landscape like tendril fibers, glass and vapor, cigarette butt and oily slick, lying there like lost nickels waiting to be found, scampering along the pavement like loose newspapers taking flight that stir the pigeons from their sleeping roosts. The words lurk and huddle in shards of broken glass, subway corners, old garages, ice cream parlors, waiting, sneaking, running, peeking, playing, hiding, sometimes quietly, in the torn, smudged pockets of the homeless beggar, eating scraps there on the corner stoop. They are the findings I work to pull together, pearls and baubles, leaf and straw, the words I search to weave and strain, to write and form my world here on this empty page. Seeking them in unlikely places, sometimes loosing them from the traces of the scent left by your lingered kiss or the bristled shadow on your unshaved face. Some are hard to find, unwilling victims in the game of hide and seek. Those words are wrapped in worn-torn images and sleepless nights of tears and sweat. They are the words abandoned in the waste bin of bitter anger and penetrating loss. They are not easy words to find, but I seek them nonetheless. Try to give them the expression they deserve. Why do I seek them? Why the compulsion to express? It's hard to explain, but there is a hidden wisdom that I see mirrored in the ordinary and taste in the common. A wisdom that brings clarity to life, understanding. I hear it in the words of poets and writers seeking to express it. Sometimes it is bold and strong, sometimes it is soft or fragile, but always it is more. More than the sum of the words penned upon the paper, more than the words wrapped in the hearts of those who search and place them there. For in the seeking there is finding, and in the finding there is truth. In all I write or search for, that is what I yearn. Expression for the lost, the relevant, the significant. Expression for the hidden truth lurking in the all. Thank you.
It's called There She Is. There she is, a figure, a girl with a golden glow around her, a small angelic form. There she is, a sweet, a beautiful lady walking like Lady Juliet the Capulet. There she is, a princess, with shining, thick, golden, lustrous locks. There she is, an adventurer, standing on the London Bridge, looking out over the water, or gracefully strolling down the streets of Venice. There she is, understanding, compassionate, a brave woman and a great mentor. There she is.
I week. I voted today and it's garbage. That's all we're doing. Real quick. If the postmodernists say that language really doesn't exist, that is, when these post-structuralists say that language is all about the usage, do they say this because they don't believe that language exists in the mind of God? Because they don't believe in God? A Buddhist monk, an African shamanistic folk healer, and a Catholic priest walk into a bar. A parrot and a pretty prostitute are conversing at a table in the corner. The bartender says, "What do you have?" And the Catholic priest, an Irish bishop named George Barclay, says, "The postmodernists say that I, a Catholic priest, hang out with me mates here, the African shamanistic folk healer and this Buddhist monk, because I'm stealing ideas from them and making this God thing up as I go along. But you see, the post-structuralists have it all wrong. God already exists. I'm just looking for pretty phrases to explain, to better describe God. And speaking of pretty phrases, that is one beautiful prostitute over there in the corner. I believe I'll make her me wife. And that parrot with the stunning colorful feathers, and he speaks fluent Pennsylvania Dutch. I believe I'll make him me pet." And the bartender politely asks again, "So what do you have?" And the Catholic priest, Irish Bishop George Barclay, says, "I know me mates here, this African shamanistic folk healer and this Buddhist monk, well, they want beer, the black stuff. And I got other mates coming, a Hindu love guru, a Corinthian Greek temple priestess, you make love to them for church, and an Easter Island head-stalking stargazer and sea gazer, and they all want beer, the black stuff." And the bartender nods and starts pouring pints. And the Catholic priest, Irish Bishop George Barclay, goes on. At the level of mysticism, we're all the same, me mates here and me. We pray and meditate, we fast and abstain, we look up at the sky and at the sea and to the parrots in the trees. And when we look up the skirts of temple priestesses, and the Catholic priest leans over to see up the pretty prostitute's dress as she sits talking to the parrot at the table across the room. And we're not making up God. God exists. We're not making him up at all. No, we're finding language to describe God. It's just like those same grounds and the same kilns. No longer art but ritual. When little Miss Bourgeoisie takes a part in some local revival of a classic theatrical drama or musical. The difference between scoring a touchdown by a running back or a goal by a striker who scored many touchdowns, many goals, Barry Sanders, Billy Sims, Pele, Maradona, fennel seed to offset the stomach gas from lentils, small iron firebox door, cats and kittens rather than rats and mice nests, cougars, coyotes, and the ghosts of the small Civil War era hotel and boarding house that was turned into this Amish farmhouse. The language to describe God. The bartender sets a glass of stout in front of the priest. "Here's your pint," the bartender says politely. The Catholic priest, Irish Bishop George Barclay, smiles back. "Thank you." Yeah! Give it up! Give it up!
That's it for tonight.
Yeah, we'd like to thank everyone for coming out.